Hello and welcome to today's webinar as part of our webinar series here at Argentum. My name is Ishai. I am the CEO of Argentum, and today I will be happily speaking on project management and the way to get most of your EU-funded project after the project was granted with the funding and it is starting. So let's begin by just introducing ourselves really quickly. We are grant experts. We are a consulting firm. We are specializing in securing non-dilutive fundings for deep tech companies in Europe. Our team is composed of a team of analysts, project managers, group leaders, business development specialists, and grant writers, and we are determined to help our clients win as many grants as possible and to help them in their journey towards success. We we are implementing the unique methodology of a multi-submission approach, wherein we maximize our clients' chances for success by applying to multiple funding opportunities, and there are lots of them, and we are kind of handling lots of different funding directions and opportunities that are available for European companies. And by that we are able to actually implement a multiple submission to multiple types of funding. So let's start with today's agenda. I will talk about 4 items. One is how to plan the project efficiently, so you will not grapple under loads of documents to submit after the grant was won. So how to plan this in a correct manner. The second item would be how to manage the project after it is won in the most efficient manner. The third item would be today getting the most out of your EU-funded project, meaning what to do during the projects in order to multiply the effects of winning a grant and the impact on your company. And the fourth item and the last one will be how to look forward and to plan your next funding proposals. It is important to think about it as well during the implementation of your grant proposal or of your granted project. First, planning it right, how efficient grant management starts in the proposal. So you need to think about that when you are preparing a proposal and submitting the proposal. But let's just look at the term grant management. What does it mean? Some people call it process management, but it means to manage the grant. It doesn't mean project management. It doesn't mean that we will talk about how to implement project nicely and how to work with grants and with tasks and with people and resources or budget. We will focus on the items that are needed to implement the grant perfectly, and not the project itself. And it may seem obvious, but it must be said that grant management doesn't mean project management. So there are 4 items that we include in grant management. In Argentum, we provide grant management services that cover these items. First thing is the project setup, the period or the activities between the award, the notification from the funding agency that you have won the grant, and when the grant and the project actually starts, when it is ready to start, and the grant is starting to flowing from the funding agency into your account. We will focus today on Horizon Europe or European funded project because there are different methods and details for each funding agency. So now we are talking about the EU grant mechanism, all the grants that are handled through the funding and tenders mechanism portal of the EU. So it's Horizon Europe and Digital Europe and European Defense Fund and Innovation Fund, everything that is from European Union source. So first thing first, the person that will handle the project has to have um, uh, assignments of roles within the project and within the organization that submitted the proposal. So the first thing you will be asked when you win a grant is to register a legal entity appointed represented. So the leader can assign all the other roles and meaningfully controls what the company does in the context of European grant. Each organization has several layers, but it can have only one layer, but each project has to have different project roles. The needed roles are project financial signatory, the PF sign, and the project legal signatory, the PL sign. This may sound like Chinese, but this is one process that has to be done once you are receiving a grant for the first time. You will be asked to sign a declaration of honor. You will be asked to prepare description of the action. This is actually a document that is based on the proposal with minimal changes, and the description of the action will be part of the annexes that goes into your grant agreement. Then the grant agreement will include all the items in an agreement. When does the money comes in? What are your obligations? What is the term? And how do you make changes and amendments? But it will have two annexes, well, at least two annexes. Annex 1 is the description of the action. Annex 2 is the financial annex. It means the money that was granted. In consortium proposals, you will need to prepare an agreement between the coordinator and all the other participants called consortium agreement. And the European Union is not a side for this agreement. They request it, but they don't a part of it. So you must have a consortium agreement, but the EU doesn't review it or doesn't sign on it and doesn't even see it sometimes. So these are the setup stages. After all of these are done, you can start the project. Usually European project starts on the first day of the month after the grant agreement was signed. Deliverables and continuous reporting in general. Once the project has started, you will be able to continuously report a lot of items, and you can report them along the year. The project summary, the publishable project summary, the milestones, the risks, the results. You can simply report on them digitally and continuously during the project duration, and even after the project has ended. But the deliverables has to be submitted on time. Deliverables are set of documents or goals, results that you define during the proposal preparation and the preparation of the description of the action, and you need to upload them according to the specific times you planned. And deliverables are important. We will touch them more when we advance later on. Once per year or per 18 months, you will need to compile and submit a technical report, periodic report, summarizing all the activities and costs that were incurred during the periodic report. For example, the AC Accelerator projects of 2 years usually have 2 reporting periods, and therefore 1 periodic report and 1 final report. Larger projects for longer durations may have more. The technical reports includes all the tasks, all the work that you have done during the first report, the prior reporting period. It includes financial statements from all the partners. It includes a project review by an external expert, and on the final report, it sometimes needs to include a certificate on a financial statement carried out by an external accountant. Payments are usually go hand in hand with periodic reports. Almost all periodic reports will carry on payments after they are approved, and we will not get into the payments and how they are calculated because they are different from grant to grant, but you should just remember that payments are tied with reporting. Last thing, amendments. Good thing to know that there is a budget flexibility clause in almost all the grants agreement. It means that you can move items of the budget from side to side and change them just with notification on your periodic report. And most of them will not require an amendment. And amendments are required on more intense changes, major deviations from the plan, replacing of participants, extensions, suspensions, or moving a bunch of a large amount of money from one aim to another. So this is what we include in grant management and process management, and this is what we think is relevant to manage a granted project. Now, some tips for your times when you prepare the proposal before you submit it. You don't want to have too many deliverables. One deliverable per task is usually enough, no more, no less. So you don't need to have one task with 3 or 4 deliverables. And the number of tasks shouldn't be very high. You can group several tasks into subtasks if the project allows, if it makes sense, and have 4 or 5 detailed tasks is much better than 10 to 12 tasks per work packages that are not as detailed and not as important as one big task. There's no need to have repeated deliverables, for example, at month 6, 12, 18, 24. One at the end, one in the middle is much better. So it will just reduce a lot of work during the project implementation. Minimizing the use of subcontractors is always a good advice. And a lot of people don't know, it's sometimes not as similar to subcontracting definition. The EU definition of subcontracting is different from the subcontracting definitions of national funding agencies, for example. So almost all of the time, subcontractor can be also classified or defined as purchase costs. Purchase costs are easier to amend and change during the project. They requires less details when you report them, and they do carry indirect costs, and subcontractors do not. So you benefit a lot from taking the subcontractors that you need for this project and defining him as a purchase cost and not as subcontracting. What is a subcontractor? A subcontractor is, according to the papers of Horizon Europe, subcontracting costs are considered subcontracting if you subcontract uh, a task, a full task. This is also why it is better to have larger tasks than lots of smaller ones, because maybe you have a subcontractor that subcontract a task to, but if you group some tasks together, then you do not subcontract the entire task anymore, then it can be considered a purchase cost, and you get indirect cost for it, overhead, and it is easier to handle, and evaluators likes it better. So it's all good decisions. They will ask questions why it is not a subcontractor only if this is something very, very major. So if it's something small or part of a task, do not call it a subcontractor, please. Don't Last tip for this stage: don't commit to tasks you can't do. This is important, especially in consortium proposals. Then the time for you to report your deliverable comes and you have nothing to report. And this is a problem. And I think lately the EU is testing a new approach for funding called the lump sum. It means that costs will not be reimbursed according to actual incurement costs, but through the achievement of deliverables and milestones. So you must make sure that your deliverable can be achieved. Nevertheless, be aware that for the flexibility during project implementation, you are allowed to change the deliverables with an amendment, with a notification. So you don't necessarily need to be fully and surely confident that you will meet this task. Things happen, plans change. It is part of every project. And which leads me to the next item that I want to speak about here. Balance is the key. The goal is to win the grant, and winning the grant meaning put all your best efforts to have the best proposal ever. So you do not need to think too much about project reporting when you prepare the proposal. Your proposal should be the best proposal that it can be. So you don't, so whatever I mentioned earlier, you must take into account that it is more difficult to win the grant than to change it afterwards. So you need to first win it, and then you can handle all the problems that it may cause during reporting, or maybe committing to stuff that you end up not doing. And the flexibility in the implementation is very, very important. I met and I worked with companies that changed the entire work plan, dropped a full work package, added a new work package, a lot of flexibility in the project as long as the main idea is still pursued. So this is something important to understand when we talk about how to optimize reporting during proposal preparation. So let's move on to the next item after the proposal was awarded, and my tips on how to efficiently manage the grant afterwards. First, let's go over very quickly about some do's and don'ts. It is advised to assign project manager as a person to make sure that all deliverables and reports are submitted on time. Some people don't do that, and then they are surprised when the EU is is asking for reporting. So it is very, very important to have someone with this responsibility within your team. Don't trust your grant writer to do it. Don't trust the EU to remind you. Don't trust your participant. Make sure that someone is doing it in your team. It could be you, it could be someone else. Unless you paid someone, it can be someone external that you paid to do it. Next thing, save all the invoices for all costs related to the project in a place that you can find. Everything that is written here, people didn't do it and they were in trouble afterwards. It is based on real uh, um, uh, incidents, and you must answer emails that related to the project if they are directed to you. Emails from the EU, emails from the coordinator, the other partners. Make sure that you answer them. If they are directed to you, they are important most of the time. Um, don't don't include items supported by another grant. This is against the law, and eventually it will be found and you will run into problems. Uh, don't pretend that everything is going according to the plan if it is not. Like if there is a problem, a financial problem, war, epidemics, the EU knows about them. They know that they have plans, and actually one project officer once told me, if everything is going exactly according to the plan, we will issue a special audit because this is too good to be true. So make sure you don't need to cover up. It makes sense that not everything will go according to the plan. Don't rely on EU project officers to remind you to finish your processes. You need to make sure that if you ask for an amendment, you check that the amendment was fully processed, that if you if you plan to submit a report, make sure that it's fully submitted. And don't wait for them to say, hey, you didn't submit it, you didn't click submit, you didn't approve the last you didn't sign the new grant agreement. So you need to be a little proactive. They are bureaucrats over there, and they will not, sometimes they will remind you, but not always. Some tips for super efficient project management: account book folders in your accounting software. Create different folders, different areas to save according to the categories of the grant. Subcontractors, purchase costs, travel. There you'll be able to automatically restore them and prepare your financial statement really easily. Ongoing periodic reporting. What I want to do, and this is something personal, what I like to do when I'm assigned with a project management task, is when the day the project starts, I open up a blank page, which I call a template for periodic report. And this is my repository. Everything that happens in the project, I drop there. Someone reported something about competition, someone just finished something and wrote me about it, a cost, or someone asked to change something. Everything is dropped there. And then when the periodic reporting really needs to be prepared and submitted, I just edit whatever I collected during this time. So this is my tip about ongoing periodic reporting. Just place everything you know about the project in the same place. One last item, which is not a must: meet your project officer online. Ask him to just make an acquaintance, quick quick introduction about what the project is about, any problems you foresee in the implementation. Just make this contact, because sometimes they can be very, 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 very helpful on your side, and they want to know that they have real people talking with them, real responsible people, and they should not be worried about the implementation of this project. So this is my last tip. This is not actually not a must, and sometimes not needed, but it's just good conduct. So this is about the management during the project. Next item is getting most of your funded projects, additional impact services and benefit you can get when you win a project. So let's start. EU funding visibility. EU funding visibility means that you must put these emblem on the left of the screen for any publication resulted from the EU funded project. This is actually one of the only requirements from companies, just to have this visibility that that this was funded by the EU, sorry. But you can use it for your advantage. You can have a dedicated page on your website for a project, for the project. You can have a completely new website for the project. You can add the emblem to all your publications that are relevant to the projects, your one page or your deck, your all commercial things, all fundraising things. You can add this. This is a very strong symbol of confidence and excellence, just sharing that the EU was selected to fund your company. Everything that I mentioned here can be charged as cost to the project. If you wanted to pay someone for preparing a new website for you, this can be a part of the project. Next thing that is important, this is relevant only for European Innovation Council grants, the business acceleration services. The EAC developed a lot of tools and programs to help the companies that have won funding from the EAC. The first, I think, most well-known and used program is the coaching program. You get 12 days for the AC Accelerator Stage 2. If you win it of a coach, then you can have the coach design business plans with you, find you new prospects, be an advisor of any stuff you want. This is just 12 free extra days from an expert. And other stuff, I really like the EAC Overseas Trade Fair program. They will cover 50% of your costs to go with them to a conference, including the costs of the booth and matchmaking services. And this is very nice. You'll be part of the EIC pavilion and represent Europe in these conferences. So this is important things to remember about the business acceleration services, which are very nice. Some tips about the impact. I think, well, it's relevant to almost all EAC accelerator supported companies. They really want you to finish this project with a follow-on investment, even if you didn't choose the blended finance or the grant first. They want to see that their grant made an impact on the company, and this is the most important metric for them. And this is a chance to do it while you are in this project, because afterwards, having known that the company has won 2.5 million euros and didn't leverage it to a subsequent funding round or simply be profitable, then it will be very, very difficult to get additional grants. If you are part of a consortium, there's always a work package dedicated to communication and dissemination activities, and the smart coordinator places resources from every company in these work packages. So it is advised to participate in dissemination events, in conferences, in symposiums arranged by the consortiums, and other market-facing results. You can take a proactive role there and use this budget that was awarded by the EU to put your results out there. Last thing, leveraging partnerships. This is also case for a consortium proposal. If you are a participant in a proposal or a coordinator, you can use the project to create long-lasting partnerships. You are paid to work with them, with the partners in the consortiums, and they are mostly aligned across the value chain of your product. It means that you have relevant tech partners, suppliers, distributors, partners for dissemination, for commercializations, even your end clients. You can work with them, you can have meaningful relationships, and it will really contribute to the company going on. Last thing that we will talk about is the look forward. Am I eligible for more funding? I can tell you that during our just talking to a lot of prospects in Europe, and trying to get them interested in our multi-submission process. We hear that they won the grant, they won the EAC Accelerator grant, 2.5 million euros, and they don't need help. But there are so many different and other things you can do after you won this grant, and we have a lot of customers that are in these position. So what do you do next? Like, what do you need to do after the grant is finished? Do you have more development? Do you need now grants to pilot further? Do you need to develop your next project? It really depends what your plans are, what is the roadmap, and what you can do. You are actually very, very relevant to join a consortium now that you won your own grant. Consortiums really like that people that knows how to report deliverables and to manage projects are part of their consortiums. You can lead a small bilateral project, just finding synergies with other partners in Europe. You can sometimes apply to the EAC Accelerator again, if it makes sense and the story is logical. You can apply to prize competitions, just improve your visibility in Europe. If you were a consortium participant, you should really check with the coordinator or other leading partners if they are planning on applying for further funding. Around the last year of the project, they should start preparing to create some continuation for the grant that was just awarded. You should reevaluate the funding landscape now that you have one project participation under your name. It really means that that you will be more relevant for other coordinators. They, as I said before, they want to support projects. They want to add participants. They were part of previous projects. They that have participations in their name. And maybe, and just maybe, you got the idea and you are ready to lead a consortium and do something really, really meaningful. Not for everyone, but maybe after you have experienced in being a participant, you will be ready to lead a consortium. So I think this is the last thing I wanted to do. If we wrap up really quickly, you can have project management done more efficiently if you do the project planning right during the proposal preparation. There are lots of tips that can help you, and a lot of things you can know that can help you during project implementation. And there's always stuff that you can do during the project with the EU tools to continue and expand your impact and the benefits for the company by winning the single grant. So lastly, I will just invite you to get in touch with us if you find this information relevant. We have all the expertise needed to guide you throughout all these stages and implement the tips I just gave. So you are very, very welcome to contact us during through LinkedIn, through our website, and we will actually send a follow-up email if you want to set a meeting. Thank you for listening. I see that there were no questions, so we will just say goodbye now and see you again in our next webinar. Thank you.